At harm. I am Supergirl.
Hey guys, just finished watching Supergirl, Season 4, Episode 21, Red Dawn. This episode was kind of interesting. We start off this episode with Alex, finding out, getting flashbacks to her as a kid with Supergirl using her powers and stuff. And then she ultimately remembers at the end of the episode. And it was just kind of disappointing because, we just do this in this one episode. We had, early on this season, and we had one episode where she was dealing with, memory loss, or she was having a hard time making new memories or type thing, right after being freshly mind wiped and stuff. And that made sense, but there was nothing in between this, and that made sense. But I really wanted her to keep her memory loss for the end until the end of next season, and have her slowly, periodically get flashes of memories. Maybe she has dreams type thing. She wakes up every morning with kind of new dreams that are old memories, but she's just getting them as dreams, and she's not really kind of connecting the dots. I think that would have been way more interesting dealing with that. We even get John warning Carl that Alex could go insane finding out the truth, and I think that would have been really interesting dealing with that. You could have had her kind of, go insane and have her insane for the next season, and then at the end of that, her slowly become less and less insane, or, mildly insane. Maybe not full on kind of vegetable insane where she can't do anything, but maybe kind of have her just be, slightly, just a little bit, just on the, on a scale of 1 to 10 insanity, just like a 2 or type thing, or 2.5. And I think that would have been really interesting, just kind of slightly insane and just not making rash decisions, type thing. And I think that could have been interesting, kind of playing with that, the fallout of that. I mean, we even have Eliza in this episode when Red Dawn actually goes to see Eliza, Red Daughter actually, and they never really answered that whole storyline where did Eliza know that Alex had been mind wiped? We never even find out at the end of this episode whether or not she knew, because I'm assuming Carl had to have told her, because what was stopping Eliza from calling Alex up, or Alex ends up calling her, or whatever? They're talking on the phone, or talking over text message, or whatever. They're talking on over somehow, and they end up kind of she ends up spilling the beans that Carl is Supergirl type thing, or I'm assuming Alex has maybe taking a weekend or whatever, maybe gone back to see Eliza, and as Eliza, because hidden all the photos of her and Supergirl, imagine she might have photos somewhere in the house of Supergirl, I mean, she might have those there, but then again, so many people keep breaking into that house, she might have already hid them away, keep them hidden so that if someone just shows up at the house, there's not just kind of a photo of Supergirl, there revealing her secret identity, but still, there's just all kinds of stuff that, Eliza should have been told about Alex getting mind wiped, because she could have spilled the beans. And I think that would have been quite interesting, as Eliza accidentally revealing it to her that Supergirl is her sister, and causing her to go insane would have been way interesting to deal with. We see that Red Daughter ends up capturing Supergirl. I think that was really kind of interesting dealing with that, and I'm glad that scene didn't really get dragged out too much. I really expected it to be a dragged out scene where it was going to be kind of where Supergirl was going to win her over and all that stuff, using the power of speech and hope and all that stuff, which I understand that's the character and all that, but that's not what we're looking for, and that's not what I'm looking for in a Kryptonian show about Supergirl. I want to see action, I want to see comic books stuff, I want to see the fights, right? So I'm glad they didn't do it that way, and I'm glad they went for a different route, and I think that was really good on them, because we've seen that before, and it's just kind of overdoing the same trope over and over again of her talking her way out of situations instead of fighting her way out of situations, which is what we want to see, is her fighting it out. We see that Ben Lockwood didn't know that the president was actually working for Lex, so that'll be interesting to see as to where things go with that storyline. And then we see that John is actually he's in the Lockwood base type thing where he has all the aliens and they're sending them off. But then, John is walking around as Miss Tessmacher, and then he just turns back to himself when he's spying on the enemy. And it just made no sense. Why the hell would he turn back to himself? Yeah, you want to reveal to the audience that it's actually John Jones, not Miss Tessmacher. But the way she was walking, the way she was acting, you could easily tell that was John Jones. And if you really want to, just change his eye colors, maybe you show his eyes changing colors so that he can use a different, vision type thing to be able to see things, or, he's listening in type thing, or you have her go into one room and change into another person and look like someone else, right? Showing the transformation, just like they do with Mystique in the movies. Every time you want to reveal it's Mystique without actually showing, that who she is or her revealing her identity, she just changes into another person, right? So you could have done that. It's super easy to do that instead of him, revealing himself inside the enemy base, which made no sense at all. We see that Brainiac is actually rebooted, and that's what's interesting with Brainiac. Hopefully, this is maybe a way to eventually change his appearance, because the look of Brainiac, like the blue version, is kind of so terrible. It is atrocious, especially in comparison to the Brainiac that's on Krypton. If you've been watching that, or if you're not even watching that, the trailers for it are all over the internet and are all over online. And if you're following any of the DC social medias, you've seen some pictures of that Brainiac, and it's impossible to not compare the two. Even though it's not exactly the same character, there should be some similarities to it, because like they said, they're ancestors, right? And I think that's really going to be interesting to see as to where things go with Brainiac in the next episode and going into the next season, which hopefully they do keep this. They don't just reset him back to the next one, because that would be kind of completely pointless to just change him in this episode to have him reset back to the next season. I doubt they're going to do that since it's so close to the end of the season, right? And then we see that that Red Daughter, she has like this kind of helmet that Supergirl had in the earlier episodes in this season, because Melissa Benoist wasn't around, and that made sense. She wasn't around to be able to do that. But it was just kind of annoying that she had to wear this helmet for the fight, and we couldn't get Melissa Benoist versus Melissa Benoist. I mean, I know they did this back in the Crisis on Earth X, but that was like a huge crossover where you had huge active set pieces with so many characters on screen. You didn't want to redo those big fights again. With Melissa Benoist twice, because every fight you had to do it twice, and those crossovers take so long to do. It's excusable to have her, in a mask so that you don't have to, double every character every time she's on screen. Every time the two characters are fighting, you don't have to double it. But this was just Supergirl versus Bad, just two characters. You couldn't just film it twice and have Melissa Benoist do it both sides. That was just kind of disappointing, and it just kind of took a little bit, put a damper on the actual fight. It didn't look as interesting as it would have been if it would have been Melissa Benoist versus Melissa Benoist. I think that was kind of a misfire right there that kind of ruined that fight. We see that Alexis actually kills the Red Daughter at the end of the episode, or quote unquote kills the daughter, so that he kills Supergirl. So I think that'll be interesting to see as to where things go with that. I'm kind of disappointed though that Colonel Haley knows that it was a clone, and everyone who really matters knows that it was a Supergirl clone. So we're not going to go into next season with her still being public enemy number one, and everyone hating Supergirl. She's just gonna in the time that the next episode ends and the next season picks up, she'll have probably saved and probably win. She'll easily have enough time to win the people's trust again by just saving a few more people throughout the between the hiatus, right? So we'll have to wait and see as to where things go. But it really is just disappointing that she's still not. I would have liked to have this season end and everything be kind of finished up, but the fallout of this season of her still being public enemy number one, having to win over people's trust without proof of what Lex Luthor did, because he destroys all the proof, and her just having to win people's trust back over would have been way more interesting doing that than this way. There's no one who's left. The DEO is on her side, is going to be on her side by next season, and then there's no one really left to really have to trust, and the president is evil, so it really just kind of takes all of the weight of this season, and it leaves no fallout to go into the next season for Supergirl. So I think that's really kind of disappointing for me for this season. So we'll have to wait and see as to where things go in the next episode. Maybe things change, but I'm just not liking how this season is not really going to affect next season for Supergirl whatsoever. So we'll have to wait and see as to how things go. But I like this episode, just not a fan of how things, there's no fallout, not enough fallout left for this season. See you guys in the next episode. Peace out.
I'm Captain America, here to talk to you about one of the most valuable traits a soldier or student can have.
Subscribing.
Sometimes is the key to victory. Sometimes it leads to very little, and it seems like it's not worth it. And you wonder why you waited so long for something so disappointing. How many more of these?
You're still here.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Peace.
It's over.